Hi, my name is Annalia Simon. I'm reporting from Elsipogtog First Nation for the NB Media Co-op. Today I'm speaking to Roseanne Tremblay Clark and her brother Ron Tremblay. They're the creators of the new Wolastoqey dictionary entitled Words of the Crow Clan. Uh, Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome. Welcome.
So, when did you start working on this project?
Um, it was when COVID hit 5 years ago, is when I started, when we were all um, confined to our homes. And I got thinking, what am I going to do with myself? So I just happened to be looking through all my language materials I had accumulated. And I've been working at language now probably 35, 40 years. So I thought, geez, I've got a lot of stuff here. What can I do with this? There's no sense in me keeping it. I should get it out there. So, and that's when the idea of the family dictionary came to me. So I called every one of my siblings, nine of them, and I explained to them. I said, "What would you guys think if we do a family dictionary?" And they were all on board. Not one of them hesitated. Sure, that's a great idea. So at first, it was um, it was the online dictionary that we created, and that was launched in December 2nd, 2023. So making that, there's audio, there's close to 22,000 entries in there now. When I first started, I had around 6,000 entries. Anyway, we're up to close to 22,000, and every entry online has an audio clip.
Zewanamagui Jesus.
So everything that we put on there, and all our voices are on there. All my siblings, we just took sections of the dictionary, and then they'd record those words, and then we all did it. And anyways, and they would all come through me, and I got to check them, and then I'd either accept them or reject them, and get them to do it over or whatever. So that took well, that took about 2 years, I guess, to do that. So we had to hire Jake Sanford. He did the techie part of our project where he set us up online and things like that.
How did you get the idea to make it into a book?
Well, I got thinking, this only happened, what is this, May? This just started happening last fall, the book idea. I got thinking, some elders do not have access to computers. They don't know how to get on a computer. I thought that's not really doing them much good having the online. Plus, I thought, what if something happened that I cannot fund to have that online? I'm going to lose all that work. So that's what precipitated me to thought, well, I'd like to have it in a textbook. So that's how that was born.
So 10 people in your family worked on this project. Can you talk about the process, like when it came to writing the book, like working on the book together?
Well, there wasn't so much that the 10 people did the work for the book. It was the online that they did the recording and that kind of thing. Because once it was online, then our techie just took that and reformatted it so it could be in text, put in a text form. So most of the work with my siblings, or all the work in my siblings, was when we did the online. So that process, it was really quite fun because somebody said, oh, remember when Grammy used to say this? Remember mom said this to me? It was really a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs and just a lot of memories coming back when we were coming up with some words and phrases. So it was it was challenging because we'd get discussing, well, you don't really say it like that. I think you say it like this. So there was some of that. So a lot of the words, they came quite easily, but some we really had to dig for and have discussions about them.
As a young boy, I can recall playing um, um, ball against neighboring towns and villages. And we didn't really need hand signals or signs because we spoke the language, and all we'd have to listen is to our coach telling us, either we bunt or we hit away or let a pitch go, and then when to steal a base, and then the pitcher and catcher can speak back and forth what kind of pitch would be coming. So so the other team wouldn't quite get what the heck we were saying, and that was the gift of the language, is that we could do that. And as my sister Roseanne said, when I was young, you'd go from home to home to home, and you would listen to each community, or each home. They would be speaking the language, and there was some war brides that came in the late 40s and the 50s, and they had to learn the language. I remember Jean Paul in particular. She was from London, I believe, and then she had to learn the language because all of that was spoken there was Wolastoqey. So yeah, thinking about our language, because we are called Wolastoqey, and our language comes from that river we call Wolastoq, and I always revert to um, teaching our people that our language comes from the river and comes from the land, and we can't forget that. And I always say, kek say, dagedi chidituan kamiskamanaj da lama kladwe waganan, which means if you ever want to know something, what is true, you will find it in our language. So, and I try to really promote our language, especially with the young people.
What do you like foresee for the future of the language? Do you think that the language will start to make a comeback? Or I guess it has already started, but do you think like that will continue and like progress?
Yes, I really have confidence in our young people. I know that there was a time and space where I felt that, oh geez, there's nobody wants to learn, because I taught, and my sister taught. We taught for over 30 years in the schools, and there were just core programs. So we'd have kids like for 30 minutes a day, and we weren't saving the language, and it was frustrating knowing the fact that we weren't producing new flowing speakers. We were just, it was just you know phrases or words and describing the weather, or the animals and colors, numbers. But now we have one young man, White Moulton from Tobic. In fact, he through COVID, he he spent all the majority of his time with his grandparents, and wanting to learn the language fluently. And then after that, he was speaking it and wanted to learn more and more. And so we do have a lot of young people out there who really want to learn, especially in the fluent format. And that's the only way we're going to save the language, is in immersion. We can't, have these core programs no more in school. They're good just to give you a base of the language, but to really preserve it, we need immersion programs. And I wish the government and the communities would spend more of their money towards that, because that's the only way we're going to preserve it. Because we grew up, as my sister said again, Roseanne, we grew up immersed in language with our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, or and all our relatives that spoke the language fluently.
So you strongly encourage immersion. Is there any other advice that you would give to like young people trying to relearn their language?
Well, I do a lot of ceremonies, and I do and during the ceremonies, I would when I talk to the young men, I mainly deal with the young men, and I tell them, in our language first and foremost, what I'm doing or how I relate to, creation and the earth and the world above, and then I'll say it with in our own Wolastoqey, um, um, I guess worldviews in how we connect with creation, and I teach him through that. So I told him, that's how we would connect with the ancestors. That we need we need to use our language more. And I remember the late William Commanda, who was from um, Maniwaki, Quebec, and he came to speak here once. He said, before we all pass, we need three things. We need our language so we can talk to the ancestors once we cross over, and we need our death song, and we need our traditional spirit names. So that this has been um, you know pretty much consuming my mind, and I want to teach young people to try to speak their language first and foremost, and even though that they may make mistakes, we will try to assist them in a very kind way. So,
I also wanted to just add that the young people who are learning and doing what they can to learn our language, I encourage them to be around speakers as much as possible. And time's ticking away, and we're losing every time we lose a speaker. It just breaks my heart. They take our chunk of our dictionary with them forever, and we'll never get it back. So I just encourage that. I think um, we need each other. The younger kids need us, and we need them. They need us to help them with language, and we need them to learn it and to carry it on for us. We're not going to be here forever. So
yeah, and I remember uh, this was probably 35 years ago. Gwen Bear, which was one of my spiritual teachers, she went to New Zealand and visited the Maoris. This was like 30 some years ago now, and she said they were down to five fluent speakers. The Maori were, and within that time span that they started this immersion program in each community, and now you can visit their home their homeland and go to each one of their communities, and they have immersion programs there from pre-K all the way up to PhD level at their university. So that gave us a huge boost, thinking that, well, they were down to five speakers. So, but we don't want to get there. We have quite a few speakers left. Not a lot, but enough that we can preserve the language for sure.
and I think too that I think we have to try and work together on this. We all have the same goal. Sometimes we get sidetracked in how we're going to achieve it, and just the writing system itself. We have two major writing systems, and we've argued about that for years and years and years. And I don't even really discuss that with anybody anymore. I just say pick one. It doesn't matter which. They're both very good. Nobody's right or wrong here. It's just they're different and they're both great. And I think we have to work together instead of working against each other and trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong kind of thing. There's no right or wrong to this. We've got to just toss that aside and say, okay, how are we gonna do this all together? We have the same goal.
How would you describe your relationship with the language?
Well, that's the first language I heard when I was growing up, and I don't know. That's how I learned it when I was born, and it was all around me. Even at the age of about 12, 11, 12 years old, my my aunt had a store in our community, and she would hire me to go sell newspapers to like each house. And I remember walking, going to every home. All I heard was Wolastoqey being spoken. That would have been in the 60s. So it's really quite different today, but it was everywhere. We had our grandparents right there, our aunts and uncles, our cousins, and even though we attended the day school, which we were discouraged from using it, and sometimes some of the people were punished for using it, we still were able to go home and still hear it in our homes and in the community. So that helped us retain it.
What's your relationship with the English language? Did you also grow up speaking English?
Well, we did hear English, and of course, when we went to day school, that's all we heard from the nuns. So, um, I don't know. I'd like to say that I'm not a real, well, I can speak English pretty good, but I have a hard time with it sometimes, is all. And especially where I've been working with my language more and more, I tend to think in realistic ways so much more than I do in English.
No, like, of course, we know that language revitalization is important, but in your own words, well, why is this project significant?
Well, we all know that our language is dying. We have very few speakers. I think in my community, we might have less than 80. And and there are, but what's encouraging to me is that there are so many young people that are getting interested in it. And the language teacher training program that St. Thomas puts on, where they're training people how to teach the list of languages. They graduate people every year. So we've got them people coming through, and then we've got a Yakimian immersion, Wolastoqey immersion school right in the city here. And there's other people just really interested in language. So to me, it's a great resource. And I was very strong when I started that. I was very strong in thinking, if I'm going to put that out, I'm putting out audio clips because I mean, most people, you can't read it. You wouldn't be able to read it, and then you wouldn't know how to pronounce it anyways. And I thought, well, I'm putting audio clips to everything that we put on that online before it goes out. And that's what we did.
And where can people find the book?
The book, unfortunately, I only had 1,000 copies printed, and I'm down to about maybe 100 now. And I've been giving them away because I received a grant from Heritage Canada, and we couldn't sell it. So we've been giving it to all the Wolastoqey communities in the schools, libraries, elders, speakers, people who are interested in it. So I'm still distributing the books. So I do have some here in my home, but I don't think I'm going to have any left.
Do you think you might make other copies in the future?
Well, I'm kind of hoping in another 2, 3 years I wouldn't mind having a second edition, because the online, I'm still inputting material on the online, and so this book now is not going to have everything that's online. So in a couple of years, if I can get more funding, I would really love to have another, like a second edition.
How can people access the online version?
If you Google, even if you just Google words from the Crow clan, that's going to give it to you. It'll bring it up for you.
So Kakagosok.ca, it's spelled KAHKUHSOK.ca. And
Right.
and that'll come up to bring up the site, and you can go on, and it describes how the book came to be, and you can search words or phrases, and yeah. So,
Or you can just go on each letter. Say if you go under letter A and you're looking for apple, it's in there in English, and then it'll give it to you in Wolastoqey, and then it'll give you the video clip right beside it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
We know that I just want to mention this. This is not an exhaustive list of our language there, and we know, and we're not the experts. I want to make that very clear. We only shared what was taught to us. So there's going to be people that are going to say, well, we don't say it like that. And we're open to that. And if there's another way of saying something and they don't mind me putting it in the dictionary and I credit them, then I would do that. because to me, any new word, um, it's, we don't want to lose it. So, and I'll put it in there just so we'll have it. So yeah, it's going to be, I know people will say, yeah, we didn't say it like that, even in our own community, because down the road was sometimes somebody said something different than up the road, and amongst families, and certainly between all the Wolastoqey communities, we have different words sometimes. So we recognize that, and we're not saying this is the right way. We're just saying this is the way that we learned it.
Before we go here, I'd like to just say we just had we have a little new dog in the last year. His name is Beady, after his name's after my grandfather Peter, which his nickname used to be Beady, and I speak to him in our language, I tell him Abin or Godop, and then he responds to whatever I say now. So he listens to both languages, so he knows Wolastoqey and the English language too. So
Oh, that's cute.